Am I just? Hey, welcome to. You set me up for that, Tim.
We are ready to go. It is Matthew chapter 1. We're right before Christmas. It's time to start focusing on that. So the
Can I
focus
sing
shifts
Christmas songs yet?
almost.
Too late. I
It
already
shifts from John the Baptist to Joseph. Matthew chapter 1, 18 to 25. Let's get after it.
I have loved the evil way, spit out my Lord in every way. Yet I'm still
Matthew
welcome
chapter 1, 18
in the arms
25.
of the King.
And it begins with the beginning. No, it begins with the Jesus birthday. Yeah,
Thusly. It begins thusly.
Well, actually, it begins before the birthday.
yeah. It begins with talking about the
thusly.
beginning of Jesus, the Christ. So we learn about a woman named Mary and her man Joseph, right?
Technically, the way the Bible says it is Joseph and his woman.
No, but it
Actually,
says later.
it starts with his mother Mary.
It does.
She does. They do name
Who
her,
was betrothed to Joseph, right? Yeah, but then it shifts to this focus of Joseph, right? Which I think
Male
you were
chauvinist
saying
pig.
earlier, Tim, that we don't often focus. Well, Scripture itself doesn't focus a lot.
Right.
Joseph is kind of the man who does what a faithful man of God ought to do, and unfortunately, he just kind of fades into the background and all that.
There's not much about him.
There's not much
Honestly,
about him,
I don't
right?
know
And
about
so there's a lot of speculation on what happens. But here you see his incredible character, I think, and faithfulness as he's directed, obviously, by God of what's going on here. So he's to be married to Mary, and he learns what? Disturbing bit of information.
Yeah, well, I mean, my brain always goes to like Nazareth, right? And so here he is. He's older than she is by at least 10 years, at least. He's probably in his 20s. She's in her early to mid teens.
Yeah.
Somehow, and it wasn't just purely arranged. I mean, normally somehow she saw him and said to her dad, "Hey, Dad, there's this carpenter guy."
Right, because he's not a wealthy guy. I mean, we learned that later on.
She's
so
not
it's
wealthy
not
either, but he's got this carpenter guy, and he's a relatively cute dude, and I go talk to his dad, and that's where my brain goes, and go talk to his dad, and they have the arrangement. All this stuff happens, and he's like, "Hey, that's
Great, yeah.
great, let's go for it," and they're betrothed. And all of a sudden, she shows up at his door going, "Hey, Joseph, I'm pregnant." And his brain did what all of our brains would do.
Yeah,
Wasn't me.
was me, right?
And you're saying it's God?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it is interesting because what is his decision? What does he want to do?
He shows great. He still, in his own character, shows
be
great
kind,
compassion. I mean, you see those. I don't watch him anymore, but I never did actually. But
Anymore.
but
if
you know about them.
no, you see those.
You're
No, I've never
referencing
watched them
them.
before.
Define
But
What is them?
What is them?
no,
Come on, Ernie.
when the TV show Maury Povich, when they always talk about DNA tests, and
Okay.
We were.
Could have taken a dark turn.
Yeah, that could have been
Anyway,
bad.
but it's
right.
always the man who isn't celebrates and is definitely not compassionate towards that woman. But I know Joseph here shows great. I mean, even in the midst of it, it shows his care for Mary and his love for her, and his compassion for her ultimately.
Well,
So-
he knows that he's going to have to write a certificate of divorce.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you got to have grounds. What are your grounds? Oh, my grounds are she's
Yeah,
been
it's
unfaithful.
it's obvious.
Oh, well, that's adultery. There's a price to pay for that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to see anything bad happen to her,
It's
and
called
so he's
death.
so he's trying to
So
work
he's
his way back through.
he's trying to find a way to just do this quietly, secretly. Basically, it's just act like it never happened, go our separate ways, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
She can go be with whoever this is. Her
Yeah.
dad can marry her off that direction, and she doesn't have to die for it.
So he's
Right.
he's kind of worked this through. It even in the text, it is interesting. It doesn't seem like he's even 100%. He's still like wrestling with it, right?
Yeah.
Like when he's mulling it over during the
Considered.
night.
Yeah.
And an angel of the Lord shows up, which is always terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yep.
And these are not
They
little.
aren't the little cherubs.
Yeah,
right?
they're not little precious moments, angels with big doe eyes.
That's
you know,
right.
it's the proper response is to be terrified.
It's fear,
And
yep.
the angel Lord shows up, and what does the angel say? What's he directed to?
What an angel always says.
Don't be afraid.
Do not
Obey.
fear.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Because I know this is freaking me out right now,
Our old
so-
professor,
Yeah, yeah.
Gibbs would always say, actually, it could be translated, stop fearing.
Yeah, stop being afraid.
I know that's what you're doing. All right, but don't be afraid. Calls him by name, right? Joseph, son of David. Stop being afraid. And then what?
It says calls Mary by name, right? And says don't be afraid to take her as your wife.
By the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I mean,
was
it takes
conceived.
and I think for most guys, it would take a showing up of an angel to convince them that their wife wasn't pregnant by another guy. If they were pregnant, they didn't, and it wasn't.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, even
doing
then,
it, you know?
but even then, I think that Joseph could have done what? He could have just said, "No way, this is impossible."
He could have
How
had
this-
Ebenezer Scrooge's reaction, right? This is a bit of undigested potato from dinner.
Pretty good. That's a good
Wow, that was
Oh, good Christian.
It is. So,
Yeah, that's
bit
it.
of undigested potato. So, I think the angel puts him to at ease by giving him a title. Here's this poor builder up in Nazareth, right? He's got nothing, and yet he is visited by an angelic being and called Son of David.
It's,
Right?
it's kind of like,
He's-
remember who you are.
Right,
kind
he's
of
given that role of
Yeah.
a reminder of there's something bigger going on here than just you.
Yeah,
That's
there's,
interesting.
there's something bigger in your life. I love
Right.
this idea of remember who you are.
Yeah,
I mean, we come back, we find this in the scripture all the time. Right?
Yeah.
For Joseph, for the people sitting in the pews, remember
right.
who you are.
Remember who you are.
And there's something much larger going on than your little
Yeah.
piece of the mosaic that you can see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So
And then he says you're gonna have a son, right? That's the first thing, and then Ernie, when we were translating this, you said you just love this verse. It is powerful, right? You're gonna call his name what? What's the name he's given?
Jesus.
Yes. Woo.
good
My
answer.
little
Good
pause
answer,
there.
Ernie.
Sherry's gonna
Man,
get
that was,
answer,
yeah.
right? Come on.
Jesus. Yes. Yes.
Jesus?
Yeah,
And
Jesus, yes.
and then, but what's great is he fleshes that out. Like the name is important. This isn't just some name. We know it's not. It wasn't an uncommon name,
Right.
But the reason he's called this is why.
Sozo, right? He will save his people from their sins, and I think that's
Right.
Yeah.
it's all given, right? Everything is given. The name is given. Jesus gives his life to the world. Jesus gives his life so he will save people from their sins. I think this is a key. They didn't go through the baby book of names. Said, oh yeah, we're gonna name him Jesus by our own will. You know?
And the name Jesus, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Right?
It means
The
God
one who
saves.
saves.
God saves.
But do
Savior.
you think there's anything to the word Leon in there where he says, save the people yours?
His
I mean,
people.
like, Leon is normally used for, like, people in general, right? And that this one that's inside of Mary is going to save all of his people. All the people.
Yeah.
I mean, it points to him as creator. I mean, it's a huge word to use right there.
That's
you
pretty
know?
good. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because you could have said we'll save the Jews, or we will save
Yeah.
the
Well, Leon is used as a particular people. Ethnos would be all people.
all
Nation.
people.
It would be nations. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
it is.
nations,
It is his
But
people.
Leon is a general.
It is general.
general,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't refer to any particular group.
Yeah, and it's and so he, this is it, son of David. You're having a son. You're gonna call his name Jesus. He's the guy that's
Yeah.
gonna save the people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
from
I
their
love that the
sins.
angel lifts his vision up, though. I mean, see around the corner a little bit here.
Right.
No, but I think it's interesting, just this verse that we always know, right? We say, oh, it's our favorite, we know it. But again, I think, I don't know how many of you guys have met out there who, or even Christians in general, but I think a lot of times it's, Jesus died for me and he saved me, but maybe I just have to kind of do a little more to make sure that I'm saved. And I just the basic understanding of this verse should lay to rest all those questions, I think, for people. And I think, of course, everyone knows when you're preaching this, but I think that's something to really hammer home just yet again, because I think a lot of people think there's a 1A to that one of Jesus, that we have to do a little,
some addendum,
some little asterisk of what we have to do. And
He will come to make us ready to be saved from our sins.
No.
He will come to, help us be saved.
or
from
prepare
our
that way so that you
sins.
could do enough to
no.
merit your salvation. It's
Yeah, no, he will come
Gotta
to actually
hammer that home clear.
So heal even,
So,
right? I mean,
yes,
it's both
there
heal
you-
and save. So
Which again, in this text, you have the dichotomy, right? You have that, but you've also got Joseph living out this life under God that is a life of character, making good choices with and
Even
it
vocation.
doesn't save him right,
Vocation.
at all,
Right.
vocation.
But it's this life that he lives because of who he is and what he believes, and it's just such that law gospel dichotomy is like just interwoven even into this text, but
Sure.
into this text as well.
Right, and so then the angel says this is to fulfill what was said through the prophet, this Isaiah 7:14, about the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call his name Emmanuel. And then Matthew gives us the
Defines it for us,
interpretation- which is translated God with us, right? And this is the great Advent Christmas-y hymn.
Rejoice.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? O come, Emmanuel,
not like that.
right?
Not like that.
Not even
that
remotely
that
like that,
our
actually.
God our God is not a God that just is far off out there. Like
Right.
our God is a God that
Yeah.
comes to be with his people.
I mean, I think
us.
it's texts like this that would inspire John, like with John 1:14, I think it is. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We've seen His glory is of
Skeno.
the Father.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that kind of stuff. That he wasn't going to retell this story. Matthew did it already, but
Right.
just the amazingness of God with us.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
in the flesh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This removes that, and I think even, I think we're all prone to it, but that kind of deist idea that God is up there. It's definitely a Muslim idea too. That God is up there. He's too great to be attained. He's too great to be connected to, and yet He humbles Himself. He humbles Himself.
Right.
And
this is
comes
what
down
makes,
to us, right?
Christianity different from everything else. The God
Yeah,
who is
we're not
the-
trying to attain
Yeah.
connection to God. God is coming down to make a connection
Paul would
with
talk
us.
about that, right? It's not a God that's far off,
Right.
A God that's near,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yep.
Again, I think it's just that whole ascending, descending picture of God's design of, He descends and we don't, we don't climb that mountain. He comes down to us.
Condescends.
And I think that's the
And He comes
key.
down again, driving back to the namesake itself.
Yes.
To save.
To
people.
save.
Save. Save.
What He's doing, right? That's why
Save.
He's coming down. And so we have God with us, right? Joseph gets the message loud and clear, right? Good old
And
Joseph.
he does what he was told to do.
He's faithful to that
Okay.
word, right? And he goes forward, takes Mary as his bride.
Didn't have to give him a high five in eternity.
Yes, eternal high fives, and then it wraps up. So this would be right before Christmas celebration. It wraps up with her giving birth, and lo and behold, they call his name Jesus. Right there, he is. That's our salvation. You can't go wrong. I think preaching on this that focused promise that here is God in our midst, the Emmanuel. Everything that song, we were singing that song, that hymn, this day of O come Emmanuel, everything that it's promising, it's here in this baby born of Mary.
You're going to have a hard
everything
time
focuses
figuring out what
here.
not to preach versus
Yeah.
what
Right.
to preach with this. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is kind of the sort of the tip of the spear. Like everything else gets shaved off, and it's focused right in on Christ, and like that's where it all hangs. And it's not our ascending up, right? It's the God who has come down.
Yeah.
It's not our works. It's that saved. His
Yeah.
saved.
And that hymn too, I mean, if you think about it, it's O come Emmanuel, and then it's asking him to do all of these things that we
Everything-
want done,
Yeah.
right? It's not a come and help us with this, or come and do these things, because that is your job.
Do what you've
That's
promised.
who you promised to be.
Yeah.
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 So
All right, gang. Hope that was helpful. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Yeah, I guess we might not be back with you till
have a Merry Christmas.
after Christmas. So have a
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, and we will see you soon. God bless you preaching.